Imagine a man who, amidst the chaos of empire, unlocked the very secrets of existence. In 180 AD, Marcus Aurelius didn't just ponder the universe, he solved it with a singular, breathtaking realization. He shattered conventional wisdom about power, suffering, and the very essence of human nature. This wasn't a poetic metaphor or a mere philosophical musing. It was a profound decoding of reality's deepest operating system. And what makes this even more extraordinary? He achieved this monumental feat while simultaneously commanding the most powerful empire the world had ever known. Yet, here's the quiet revelation that might stir your soul. This monumental discovery was almost lost to history. Marcus chose not to broadcast his insights from the imperial throne. Instead, he meticulously recorded every profound lesson, every insight into the universe's hidden mechanics in private journals, notes never intended for public eyes. When these sacred texts, known today as meditations, were finally unveiled after his passing, they presented a truth so stark, so liberating, that it might initially challenge everything you believe. For within these pages lay an undeniable truth. The universe operates on principles that render much of our everyday human behavior profoundly irrational. Marcus wasn't merely striving to be a virtuous emperor, nor was he content with simply mastering Stoic philosophy. No, his quest was far grander. He solved the fundamental equation of existence itself. He unraveled the enigma of why we suffer, why we struggle, and precisely what holds true significance in a universe where every fleeting moment, every cherished possession, every earthly achievement is destined to fade into the currents of time. Imagine the man who commanded legions, whose word held absolute sway over millions, who could have indulged every conceivable human pleasure and desire. Imagine him writing these immortal words. Remember that very little disturbs the wise man. He is like the rocky headland on which the waves continually break. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest. This isn't just poetry. It's a blueprint for an unshakable spirit, a testament to an inner fortress forged in the fires of self-mastery. Machiavelli's genius lay in his ability to distill complex human dynamics into fundamental truths. His observations on utility dynamics foreshadowed what modern psychology now terms resource devaluation theory. Think of it this way: a diamond, rare and coveted, commands immense value. But if diamonds were as common as pebbles, their sparkle would dim in our eyes. Similarly, when anything, a resource, a skill, or even human assistance, becomes too readily available, its perceived value plummets. Generations of leaders, those who truly understood the essence of enduring power, have drawn strength and clarity from the emperor who dared to solve existence itself. In the moments ahead, we will embark on a journey to uncover Marcus Aurelius's universe-solving discovery, a profound insight that even modern psychology continues to grapple with. Our quest isn't just to reveal what he found, but to illuminate how you can harness his timeless realization to forge an unshakable core within yourself, standing resilient in a world often designed to test your limits. By the end of our time together, you will fully grasp the wisdom behind Marcus's declaration. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. So, I ask you now with conviction, are you truly ready to gaze upon the universe as it truly is, to embrace its profound truths? Or will you continue to navigate by rules that, perhaps unknowingly, perpetuate cycles of suffering? Before we unveil the heart of Marcus's cosmic revelation, we must first understand the crucible in which his character was forged, the moment he was entrusted with boundless, absolute power. For what you are about to hear will fundamentally transform your understanding of authority, the insidious nature of corruption, and the enduring essence of human nature. They mistakenly tether their intrinsic value to what they can do for others, rather than recognizing the profound worth of who they are inherently. This is the fundamental utility paradox. But Machiavelli's most chilling revelation regarding universal usefulness was what I term the ingratitude principle, the insidious psychological mechanism where an unwavering commitment to helping everyone almost guarantees appreciation from no one. Across his extensive diplomatic observations, Machiavelli documented a consistent, heartbreaking pattern. While countless emperors before and after him exploited their exalted positions to amass fortunes, erect grand monuments to their own egos, and immerse themselves in every conceivable indulgence, Marcus devoted his entire reign to a single profound inquiry. How do I serve something greater than myself? This was no empty gesture, no calculated political performance. This was the authentic voice of a soul awakened. Marcus had unearthed a truth about power that eludes the grasp of most. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, tests you most profoundly, most rigorously, precisely when you possess the greatest capacity to misuse or abuse others. It's as if destiny itself holds a magnifying glass over those with immense influence, observing their choices. In his private meditations, he penned these insightful words: "Remember that you are an actor in a play, which is as the author wants it to be. If short, then short. If long, then long. If he wants you to play a poor man, play even that role skillfully. When someone makes themselves too useful, they inadvertently strip others of this vital sense of self-sufficiency, making them feel inadequate, often without realizing it." Prior emperors, in their misguided attempts to escape suffering, had wielded their power to control every outcome, to bend reality to their will. They raised colossal armies in a vain effort to conquer death itself, amassed unimaginable riches to buy a fleeting sense of security, and demanded divine worship to inflate their fragile egos. Marcus, with crystal clarity, saw this for what it was: a futile endeavor, akin to arguing with the immutable laws of mathematics. And intelligent people, deeply invested in their carefully constructed worldviews, fiercely resist having those frameworks challenged. Adam Neumann mirrored this pattern. He surrounded himself with a chorus of voices that reinforced his grand delusions, cultivating a corporate culture where questioning his vision was akin to disloyalty. Intelligence, in this distorted context, became a weapon against reality itself. Type 1. The resource provider. Machiavelli witnessed leaders who measured their worth by their capacity to solve everyone's material woes. These individuals became living, breathing ATMs, perpetually expected to dispense money, connections, or resources at every beck and call. This is the treasury trap, a profound insight into how those who throw open their resources to all paradoxically find themselves enslaved by their own generosity rather than empowered by it. They become conduits, not creators. Tragically, most individuals spend their precious lives battling against this divine curriculum rather than seeking to understand and master its lessons. But Marcus's revelation transcended mere acceptance of circumstances. He uncovered the very operating mechanism of the universe itself, a profound insight that, once grasped, bestows upon you a psychological invincibility. This brings us to the pivotal moment when Marcus completely cracked the cosmic code. And I must caution you, once you witness the truth he beheld, your perception of reality will be irrevocably transformed. You will be unable to unsee it. Type 4. The time giver. Perhaps the most insidious and dangerous archetype, reflecting Machiavelli's astute grasp of power dynamics, is the time giver. These are the individuals who simply cannot utter the word no to requests for their most precious, non-renewable resource, their time. They attend every meeting, accept every social obligation, and remain perpetually accessible whenever anyone desires their presence. Their psychological anguish, he noted, often eclipsed their physical pain. In that stark crucible of suffering, Marcus unveiled the universe's core operating system, a principle of breathtaking simplicity and power. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This was far more than mere positive thinking or gentle meditation advice. Marcus had pinpointed the precise, undeniable mechanism by which reality fundamentally functions. Jung made a profound observation about what happens when someone learns to recognize psychological manipulation. They confront what we term the dark mirror temptation, the insidious urge to wield these newfound insights for control rather than for liberation. When you finally grasp how the narcissist operates, you might discover that you can predict their moves, trigger their insecurities, or even push their buttons just as effectively as they once pushed yours. This intoxicating surge of newfound power can feel incredibly alluring after years of feeling helpless and disempowered. Machiavelli, with his unparalleled clarity, pinpointed 3 distinct dangers that transform universal usefulness into a profound threat, not just to personal power, but to the very essence of effective leadership. The universe, in its elegant design, is structured so that your true power, your authentic influence, blossoms and expands exponentially the moment you commit your energy to what you can genuinely control, your own magnificent mind and your chosen responses. But the truly profound, game-changing aspect of this discovery lies here. Once you achieve mastery over your internal realm, a remarkable transformation begins. The external world, almost miraculously, starts to respond differently. This isn't some ethereal magic or mystical wishful thinking. It's the beautiful, undeniable consequence of natural psychological and social mechanisms. When you cease to be a slave to your emotional reactions, your decisions become clearer, sharper, more strategic. When you release the desperate need to control others, you often find them becoming surprisingly more cooperative, drawn to your calm strength. When you liberate yourself from the fear of outcomes, you move with a decisive, effective power that was previously unimaginable. Marcus famously penned, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." This wasn't a call for passive forgiveness. It was a declaration of strategic genius. He understood that when another person loses the ability to manipulate your emotions, they simultaneously lose all power over you. This profound inner sovereignty is precisely how Marcus could govern an immense empire, navigate treacherous political landscapes, and lead legions, all while maintaining an unshakable philosophical detachment and inner peace. The key lies in developing what Jung called conscious detachment, understanding without absorption, observing without entanglement. Jung identified what he termed the transcendent function, the profound psychological process that allows us to hold opposing forces in creative tension until something entirely new and integrated emerges. For empaths recovering from narcissistic relationships, this means holding both deep compassion and unwavering boundaries, profound understanding and necessary detachment, expansive love, and resolute self-protection. He observed with chilling accuracy, the greatest enemies are often those who have been helped the most. They harbor a deep-seated resentment for their dependence, and in a desperate, often unconscious, attempt to erase the evidence of their own inadequacy, they seek to undermine or even destroy the very person who exposed it. This is the tragic truth behind why some of the most generous, most helpful individuals often find themselves surrounded by ungrateful, perpetually demanding people who, with cruel irony, blame them for the very problems they so tirelessly helped to solve. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. The real awakening isn't about becoming an expert on narcissistic behavior. It's about profoundly understanding why you were vulnerable to it in the first place. This courageous inward journey often reveals uncomfortable, yet ultimately liberating, truths. Perhaps you were raised by narcissistic parents and unconsciously learned to equate love with chaos. Maybe you developed what Jung termed wounded healer syndrome, believing your worth stemmed from fixing others. The rationalization itself becomes the true prison, not the physical consequences, but the far more inescapable psychological ones. Raskolnikov could have fled Russia, He could have assumed a new identity. He could have escaped all external punishment, but he could not, and would not, escape the intricate logic system he had so brilliantly engineered to justify his actions. Every single day, he faced a brutal choice: either admit his entire philosophy was flawed, or commit to it more completely, more deeply. This is precisely why he begins to contemplate more murders. But here's where Jung's insight becomes truly liberating. Once you see these patterns clearly, you can consciously and courageously heal them. You can develop what we call authentic boundaries, limits rooted in your deepest values, rather than reactive responses to their behavior. You can cultivate internal validation, a robust sense of self-worth that no longer depends on others' approval. And you can practice emotional sovereignty, feeling your emotions fully and deeply without being controlled or overwhelmed by them. Adam Neumann confronted the same agonizing choice. When WeWork's fantastical valuation began to crumble, he could have acknowledged the inherent problems, pivoted, and sought to genuinely fix them. Instead, he doubled down. He raised more money, made grander promises, and built even more elaborate justifications. Why? Because admitting the problems would have meant admitting that his entire worldview, his very identity as a visionary, was built on an elaborate house of cards. Dostoevsky understood that for intelligent individuals, being proven wrong isn't merely embarrassing. It is existentially threatening. Their very identity becomes inextricably interwoven with their rationalization system. To dismantle the system means to dismantle themselves. Resource drains. Those who consistently take without genuine reciprocation or advancement of mutual goals. Protect your energy fiercely from these. Jung wrote, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you." The narcissist has always allowed their effect on others to define who they are. When that effect vanishes, they confront an terrifying identity void. This is precisely why they often escalate so dramatically when they realize you've learned their language. They're not just losing you, they're losing their very sense of self. Their rage isn't truly about your behavior, it's about the existential terror of being seen clearly, and in their deepest fear, found wanting. Jung understood that this moment reveals the narcissist's core wound, the profound shame they've spent their entire lives desperately avoiding. Their grandiosity, their relentless need for control, their intricate manipulation tactics, all of it exists to shield them from the gnawing inadequacy they've carried since childhood. When you stop reacting to their provocations, stop chasing during their withdrawals, stop accepting blame for their projections, you courageously force them to experience the very feelings they've built their entire personality to avoid. Phase 3. The reciprocity requirement. The final crucial phase involves what I term mutual benefit enforcement. This isn't about being cold or transactional. It's about ensuring that your profound usefulness generates genuine obligations and shared value, rather than fostering parasitic dependencies. Following Machiavelli's wisdom on sustainable relationships, every act of helpfulness should be a two-way street, creating mutual enrichment, not one-sided depletion. This approach builds robust, resilient alliances, where everyone feels empowered, not indebted. Here's why this moment reveals Dostoevsky's deepest psychological insight. Intelligent people often construct elaborate justification systems precisely because they are terrified of being loved for who they actually are, not for the idealized, superior image they project. Raskolnikov forged his extraordinary person philosophy because deep down he was afraid he was actually quite ordinary. All his complex theories were merely elaborate detours, desperate attempts to avoid a simple truth. He yearned to be accepted, to be loved. Adam Neumann mirrored this perfectly. Then comes false enlightenment. Sudden, seemingly profound claims of self-awareness, heartfelt promises to change, temporary improvements designed to regain your trust. Next is replacement shopping, quickly finding someone new to control, often while trying to evoke jealousy or make you feel easily replaced. Finally comes reality distortion. Rewriting history to cast themselves as the perpetual victim, spreading insidious lies about you to others, creating elaborate narratives where you are the abuser. Jung wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul." The narcissist's behavior during this crisis isn't about you. It's about their desperate, often unconscious, attempt to avoid confronting their authentic, wounded self. Understanding this pattern courageously protects you from internalizing their reactions. Their escalation isn't proof that you're hurting them. It's proof that you're no longer allowing them to hurt you. When Sonia loves Raskolnikov, without needing him to be extraordinary, without demanding any justification, his entire philosophy collapses. He realizes, with a profound, soul-shaking clarity, that he never needed to prove his worth through a fabricated superiority. He was always enough. This is why Raskolnikov's redemption doesn't arise from intellectual revelation or philosophical breakthrough. It blossoms from an authentic, emotional connection, a raw human bond. Adam Newman's eventual downfall unfolded similarly. Jung discovered something truly paradoxical about psychological freedom. The moment you no longer need to understand someone's manipulation tactics is the moment you've truly mastered them. This is what we call the freedom paradox. You gain complete immunity to narcissistic abuse by becoming utterly indifferent to understanding its intricacies. This represents a profound, liberating shift in consciousness. Instead of constantly analyzing their behavior, predicting their moves, or bracing yourself for their tactics, you simply stop caring what they do. Machiavelli's own strategic application. Perhaps most compellingly, Machiavelli himself was a living testament to his own strategic principles. His personal letters unveil the journey of a man who mastered the art of being strategically available to powerful figures, while fiercely safeguarding his boundaries from those who would drain his precious resources without genuine reciprocation. This is what I call strategic resource stewardship. Machiavelli learned to guard his assistants with the same vigilance a merchant protects their most valuable goods. And for someone who has spent years meticulously constructing complex narratives about why they deserve special treatment, that unconditional acceptance is simultaneously terrifying and profoundly liberating. The psychological prison that seemed so impregnable was, in reality, constructed from mere tissue paper. It just took one soul, one moment of genuine connection, to see through its flimsy walls and make them vanish. But here's where the freedom becomes beautifully challenging. You may find yourself grieving the intense, albeit toxic, connection you thought you had. Jung understood that even toxic relationships provide a form of intensity that can feel, paradoxically, like aliveness. Pause and reflect. When was the last time you leveraged your formidable intelligence to justify something you instinctively knew was wrong, even a minor transgression? When did you last feel a subtle sense of pride in your own guilt or suffering, believing it proved you were more thoughtful, more complex, more profound than others? When did you construct elaborate explanations for what were, at their core, simple, perhaps regrettable, choices? Crime and punishment isn't truly about the act of murder. It's about the myriad small ways we lie to ourselves every single day. This is precisely why many empaths, unconsciously, cycle back into narcissistic relationships. They mistake peace for emptiness, mistake drama for passion, mistake chaos for connection. Jung would say, this is the final, most exquisite test of your liberation. Can you tolerate the quiet, profound joy of healthy relationships after the addictive intensity of toxic ones? The freedom paradox means accepting that healthy love feels fundamentally different from traumatic bonding. It is steadier but less dramatic, more peaceful but less urgent, more authentic but less intensely chaotic. Type 3. Quality over quantity appreciators. These are the rare souls Machiavelli identified who treasure meaningful, impactful assistance delivered occasionally, far above a deluge of constant, superficial help. They inherently understand that strategic support, precisely targeted and powerfully delivered, far surpasses the perceived comfort of unlimited, diluted availability. Now, Jung believed that the highest form of psychological development was what he called the union of opposites, the profound ability to hold contradictory truths in tension without being torn apart by them. For empaths recovering from narcissistic abuse, this means courageously integrating both your boundless capacity for deep empathy and your unwavering need for strong, healthy boundaries. This integration creates what we call conscious empathy, the magnificent ability to feel with others without losing yourself in their experience. You can recognize someone's pain without feeling responsible for fixing it. You can understand someone's behavior without excusing its damaging impact. You can have profound compassion without sacrificing your sacred self-protection. Jung wrote, "The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life." This acceptance includes acknowledging the parts of yourself that were vulnerable to manipulation, not to shame yourself, but to heal those wounds consciously and lovingly. Perhaps you discover you carried a savior complex that made you susceptible to people who needed fixing. Maybe you recognize deep-seated abandonment fears that led you to tolerate unacceptable behavior. Perhaps you see codependent patterns that caused you to confuse enmeshment with genuine intimacy. These insights are not character attacks. They are invaluable roadmaps to your ultimate freedom. They respect your time and boundaries, never taking a no personally. You can feel the pull of old patterns without being controlled by them. You can recognize manipulation without needing to confront it directly. You can have strong boundaries without becoming rigid or closed off. Jung understood that this level of integration is rare because it demands holding multiple perspectives simultaneously. You must be strong enough to protect yourself while remaining open enough for genuine connection. You must be discerning enough to recognize manipulation while compassionate enough to understand the underlying wounds that drive it. This mastery isn't about becoming invulnerable. It's about becoming consciously vulnerable only with people who have truly earned that trust through consistent, healthy behavior. Jung wrote, "Thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge. But the integrated person can think clearly about others' behavior without judging their essential worth. You learn to evaluate people's actions while maintaining profound compassion for their struggles. You can set boundaries with someone without needing to demonize them. You can protect yourself without becoming defensive or reactive. This is emotional maturity, the magnificent ability to be fully yourself while allowing others to be fully themselves, even when those selves are incompatible with your well-being." Jung observed that individual psychological healing creates a collective transformation. When you become immune to manipulation, you don't just protect yourself, you model what authentic strength truly looks like for everyone around you. This is what we call the authenticity ripple. Your healing gives others silent permission to heal too. People notice when you stop participating in toxic dynamics. They see that you can be kind without being weak, that you can have boundaries without being cruel, that you can be empathetic without being exploitable. This courageously challenges their unconscious assumptions about what relationships should look like. Jung wrote, "Everyone you meet knows something you don't know but need to know. Learn from them." But the reverse is also profoundly true. Everyone you meet can learn something invaluable from your journey towards psychological freedom. Your refusal to engage with manipulation shows others that they don't have to engage with it either. Children, especially, benefit immensely from witnessing adults who don't accept abusive behavior. Instead of learning that love requires the sacrifice of self, they see that healthy love enhances both people. They learn that boundaries are acts of self-care, not selfishness. They discover that manipulation isn't normal. It's a clear sign of dysfunction. Your workplace culture shifts when you stop enabling others' manipulative behaviors. You demonstrate that competence doesn't require tolerating abuse, that professionalism can gracefully include emotional boundaries, and that success doesn't depend on sacrificing your mental health. Even casual interactions transform when you operate from this new consciousness. You stop making excuses for people's poor behavior. You don't automatically assume responsibility for others' emotions. You respond to manipulation with calm clarity rather than reactive defensiveness. Jung understood that society heals one conscious individual at a time. Each person who refuses to participate in unconscious patterns creates sacred space for others to make healthier choices. Your immunity to the narcissist's language becomes a profound gift to everyone who interacts with you. But Jung also warned that this powerful transformation can, at times, feel isolating. When you stop participating in collective unconsciousness, you might feel different from others who are still operating from old patterns. This loneliness, however, is temporary. As you heal and grow, you naturally attract others who are also committed to conscious living and authentic connection. The most profound ripple effect is what we call energy signature change. Your entire energetic presence shifts from reactive to responsive, from defensive to grounded, from needy to whole. This vibrant new energy naturally attracts completely different people into your life, while effortlessly repelling those who need someone to manipulate. Jung understood that learning the narcissist's language is just the courageous beginning of a much larger journey towards psychological sovereignty. What truly matters isn't just recognizing manipulation. It's consistently choosing conscious responses over unconscious reactions. This profound consciousness requires daily, unwavering practice. Every interaction becomes a sacred opportunity to choose authenticity over people-pleasing, truth over peacekeeping, self-protection over self-sacrifice. These might seem like small choices, but Jung knew that true transformation happens through accumulating countless moments of conscious decision-making. Jung wrote, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." Your recovery becomes real and tangible through consistent action, not through understanding or insight alone. Each time you maintain a boundary despite pressure, each time you courageously refuse to engage with manipulation, each time you choose your well-being over someone else's comfort, you profoundly strengthen your psychological immunity. The conscious choice also means accepting that some people will never appreciate your growth. Those who benefited from your old patterns, your people-pleasing, your emotional management, your willingness to accept blame, may fiercely resist your transformation. Jung would say, this resistance is invaluable information about the true health of those relationships. Healthy people celebrate your boundaries because they make authentic connection possible. Unhealthy people resist your boundaries because they make exploitation impossible. Your growth becomes a powerful sorting mechanism, naturally filtering out those who were never truly supportive of your well-being. Jung wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos. In all disorder a secret order." The chaos of narcissistic relationships often contains the hidden seeds of your own profound liberation. The manipulation that once controlled you becomes the most potent teacher, showing you exactly where your psychological work needs to focus. But this hard-won learning comes with a sacred responsibility. Once you understand these patterns, you can no longer claim ignorance when you see them in other relationships. You become accountable for protecting yourself and others from manipulation to the extent that you are able. The conscious choice means using your hard-won wisdom to create healthier connections, rather than instinctively returning to familiar dysfunction. It means trusting the quiet steadiness of authentic love, rather than the addictive intensity of traumatic bonding. It means profoundly believing you deserve relationships based on mutual respect rather than mutual need. Jung believed this consciousness represents human evolution, the development of individuals who can love without losing themselves, connect without compromising their essence, and care without carrying what doesn't belong to them. When the narcissist realizes the empath has learned their language, They're not just losing control over one person, they're confronting the possibility that their entire approach to relationships is fundamentally flawed and ultimately unsustainable. But your awakening, your profound journey, isn't about them anymore. It's about you courageously reclaiming the psychological territory that was always inherently yours. Jung wrote, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved, but only outgrown. You cannot solve the narcissist. You cannot fix the manipulation. You cannot change the toxic dynamics by becoming more skilled at their language. You can only outgrow your need to participate in these debilitating patterns. Your magnificent journey, from unconscious victim to conscious observer to integrated individual, represents what Jung called the individuation process, becoming who you truly are, beneath all the conditioning, trauma, and adaptation. The narcissist, in an ironic twist of fate, inadvertently became your teacher, showing you exactly which psychological wounds needed healing. Their language, the manipulation, the control, the emotional terrorism, forced you to develop fluency in something far more valuable, the sacred language of your own authenticity. You learned to recognize your real feelings beneath their projections. You discovered your genuine needs beneath their relentless demands. You found your actual, resonant voice beneath their silencing. This is precisely why learning their language ultimately sets you free. Not because you can manipulate them back, but because you can finally hear yourself clearly, profoundly, and without distortion. The deafening noise of their chaos no longer drowns out the quiet, unwavering wisdom of your inner guidance. Every silent treatment taught you to value your own precious company. Every guilt trip showed you exactly where your boundaries needed strengthening. Every manipulation revealed another way you were abandoning yourself for their fleeting approval. Your sensitivity was never your weakness. It was your superpower. Learning their language wasn't about becoming like them. It was about becoming utterly immune to what they represent. The unconscious patterns that keep countless people trapped in cycles of manipulation and control. You are now fluent in freedom, and that language, that profound inner liberation, no one can ever take from you.